You believe your enemy is outside, your rivals, your failures, your oppressors. But the true enemy sits within, whispering in moments of weakness. Lust makes men beggars of their own will, slaves to shadows of pleasure. If you do not break it, it will break you. This video is the remedy, the art of conquest over the most dangerous addiction of all. Men are not defeated on the battlefield, nor in the council chambers, but in the silent prisons of their own desires. Among these desires, none has claimed more victims than lust. Today, I will reveal to you not merely a cure, but a weapon to destroy the chains of lust before it consumes your destiny. Lust is not the sweet indulgence you imagine it to be. No, it is a chain disguised as silk, binding men in ways far more dangerous than iron. It promises pleasure, yet delivers only weakness. The man who falls victim to lust does not fall loudly, with shouts and cries, but silently, in the private moments where no one sees. His dignity erodes, his mind grows restless, and his strength slips away unnoticed. And yet, when the time comes for him to rise, to take command, to act as a master of his fate, he finds himself unarmed, already defeated by his own passions. Consider how lust enters a man's life. It does not storm the gates like an enemy in battle. It whispers. It persuades. It offers the illusion of control, as though the man remains the master of his choices. He tells himself, "I will indulge only once." But once becomes twice, and twice becomes habit, and habit becomes his ruler. Soon he finds that the will which once guided his life has been exchanged for a hunger that grows sharper with every indulgence. He thinks he is choosing, but in truth, the choice has already been stolen. This is why lust is the most dangerous of weaknesses. Other vices may reveal themselves openly. Greed leaves a trail, envy makes enemies, pride provokes rivals. But lust works in secret. It weakens a man while he smiles. It makes him betray his own plans, his own goals, his own honor. And by the time he sees the damage, it has already hollowed out the foundations of his strength. History shows us countless examples. Powerful men brought to ruin not by armies, not by conspiracies, but by their inability to master their own desires. Kings have lost their thrones, generals have betrayed their campaigns, rulers have surrendered their empires. All because lust whispered louder than reason. You must understand, the enemy that conquers from within is always more dangerous than the one who marches from without. A city with weak walls can be fortified, but a soul with weak will cannot be defended. A man ruled by lust loses more than just his dignity. He loses his clarity. His judgment, once sharp and precise, becomes clouded. He becomes impulsive, chasing pleasure in the moment, instead of power in the long run. He forgets strategy. He neglects discipline. He abandons the very virtues that make him worthy of leadership. What good is intelligence when the mind is chained by craving? What good is ambition when energy is wasted on trivial pursuits? A man cannot march toward greatness while dragging behind him the shackles of his own desires. And know this, lust makes you predictable. The man who can be tempted is the man who can be controlled. Those who rule have always understood this. They have seen how a man intoxicated by desire will bargain away his honor for a fleeting taste of pleasure. They know how easily he can be manipulated, how swiftly he can be ensnared. Such a man is no threat, for his weakness betrays him before he even enters the field. He will never conquer because he cannot conquer himself. Worse still, lust does not stop with one victory. It demands tribute. Each indulgence feeds the hunger until the appetite becomes endless. What was once a spark becomes a fire, and what was once a fire becomes an inferno. The man who cannot extinguish it will watch as it consumes his time, his health, his focus, his very soul. He begins to live for desire instead of living for purpose. He may still walk among men, but in truth, he has surrendered the throne of his life to a tyrant he invited in himself. Think of the energy wasted, the countless hours that could have been invested in building, in learning, in conquering, all lost to the fleeting shadow of indulgence. Lust steals from the present and bankrupts the future. It convinces a man to sacrifice long-term dominion for short-term gratification. This is the bargain of the weak, the transaction of the conquered, And so we arrive at the truth: lust is not a harmless indulgence. It is a weapon, sharpened against you. It weakens the strong, corrupts the noble, and enslaves the ambitious. It is the quiet assassin of greatness, striking not with force, but with invitation. A man who kneels to it cannot rise to power, for power demands discipline, and discipline cannot coexist with chains. The greatest throne a man can ever sit upon is not made of gold, nor guarded by soldiers, nor admired by the masses. The greatest throne is his own will, his mastery over himself, for he who commands his desires commands his destiny, and he who commands his destiny commands the world. Understand this: power is not first taken from others, it is first seized within. A man who cannot rule himself cannot rule anything. Imagine a soldier on the battlefield. His enemies surround him, his allies falter, his weapons grow heavy. Yet his mind remains steady, unshaken by fear, unbroken by panic. He fights not because his body is stronger than the rest, but because his mind is master over his body. This is the essence of power, not brute strength, not empty noise, but the quiet dominion of self-command. Lust, anger, fear, hunger. These are his subjects, not his rulers. And because they serve him, he remains unyielding when others collapse. Every man is born with desires, but not every man is born with mastery. Desire whispers, "Take what you want, now, without delay." But mastery answers, "Not yet. Not in this way. Not at this cost." To silence desire is not to kill it. To silence desire is to bend it, to chan it, to direct it like a wild horse broken and made useful for war. The weak man allows his passions to drag him where they please. The strong man takes the reins and rides them toward conquest. It is a mistake to believe that freedom is found in indulgence. That lie has deceived countless men. Freedom does not come from saying yes to every craving. True freedom comes from being able to say no, to hold fast when temptation demands surrender. For what is freedom if you cannot refuse? A slave obeys the command of another. A fool obeys the command of his desires. Only the master, only the disciplined man, obeys himself. That is power. Consider the rulers of history who stood above their peers. They were not men without desire. They were men who tamed it. Alexander the Great conquered lands because his ambition burned brighter than his appetites. Caesar commanded Rome because his will was steel against temptation. They may have erred, as all men do, but their strength came not from wealth or armies alone. It came from their refusal to be slaves to their own instincts. Had they yielded to indulgence, they would have been forgotten names, swallowed by history as countless weaker men have been. Now think of the man today, the one who cannot look away from pleasure, the one who crumbles at the whisper of lust, the one who bargains his energy for a shadow of satisfaction. This man is powerless. He may dream of greatness, but his body betrays him, his mind sabotages him, his will collapses. No empire will ever rise under his hand, for he cannot even govern his own flesh. Compare him to the one who resists, who chooses discipline over desire. The difference is the distance between a beggar and a king. Self-mastery is not an easy conquest. It is the most difficult war a man will ever fight, because the enemy wears his own face. No sword will cut it down, no army will shield him from it. Yet, victory is possible, and when won, it is greater than any crown. For the man who wins this war is untouchable. Temptation may knock at his door, but it will not command him. Distraction may pull at his sleeve, but it will not sway him. He is a fortress, and his will is the wall that none may breach. The truth that most refuse to face is this: mastery is not an option. It is the requirement for greatness. Without it, ambition is wasted, potential is lost, and strength dissolves into dust. The man who commands himself can walk into any chamber, face any enemy, endure any storm, because he knows that no force is greater than his own discipline. Others may falter, others may beg for relief, others may surrender to the cravings of their flesh, but he does not. He stands unshaken, and in this stillness, he becomes the most dangerous man of all. Self-mastery does not kill desire, it transforms it. Desire once chained becomes fuel. Lust becomes drive, hunger becomes strategy, anger becomes fire for ambition. The very forces that once enslaved him now march beneath his banner. He is no longer dragged into ruin by his cravings. He rides them as a general rides his army, directing them toward victory. This is the difference between weakness and strength, between being conquered and becoming a conqueror. And so it is revealed power is not given, it is not handed down, it is not begged for. Power is forged in the furnace of discipline, where a man takes the raw metal of his passions and hammers them into weapons. He who cannot do this will remain forever a servant. He who can do this will stand above men as their ruler, not because he demanded their obedience, but because he proved first that he could command himself. Lust has never been merely a private vice. It has been wielded as a weapon, a tool of rulers, merchants, and enemies who understand that the surest way to weaken a man is not to strike him with steel, but to seduce him into surrender. The man consumed by lust becomes an instrument, a pawn on the board of others, easily directed because his compass no longer points to ambition, nor to virtue, but only to gratification. Those who understand the art of power know that men enslaved by their own appetites require no chains. They bind themselves willingly. Consider the rulers of old, who did not simply raise armies to conquer their enemies, but used temptation as a weapon sharper than any blade. Kingdoms were toppled not only by force but by seduction. A rival distracted by desire neglects his duty, forgets his vigilance, abandons his plans. He no longer thinks of defending his land, of guarding his allies, of preparing his strategies. His mind, once a fortress, now has open gates. His enemy does not need to storm the walls, for he has already walked inside. Welcomed by the man's own weakness, it is no coincidence that empires have always bred pleasures designed to enslave. The taverns, the brothels, the distractions of the crowd, these were not innocent entertainments. They were calculated tools, designed to drain the strength of men, to keep them occupied, to make them content with shadows, while power slipped away from their grasp. A ruler who wished to govern without resistance made certain his people were distracted, that they pursued indulgence instead of influence. Bread and circuses in Rome were not gifts of generosity, they were instruments of control. Lust, like every appetite, was fed not to satisfy, but to weaken. In the same way, modern powers have learned that to keep a man docile, one must keep him entertained, aroused, distracted. Lust is profitable, and profit is power. Industries rise not because they strengthen men, but because they exploit their weakness. What appears as choice is manipulation. What feels like freedom is captivity. A man addicted to desire is a consumer who never stops feeding the system that controls him. He spends his wealth, his time, his energy not on his own elevation, but on pleasures that leave him empty. In this way, lust becomes not just a weakness, but a marketplace where the strong grow richer, while the weak grow weaker. And consider how enemies weaponize this vice. Even in warfare, spies and assassins have long known the simplest path into the heart of a fortress is through the weakness of its master. A whisper, a glance, a temptation at the right moment, and the strongest defenses collapse. Armies fail where one weakness is exploited. Great men, undone by a single night of indulgence, have seen their secrets stolen, their reputations ruined, their empires lost. The sword may wound the body, but lust wounds the mind, and the mind, once corrupted, betrays all. Those who pursue power understand that lust is not merely a distraction, it is leverage. They know that a man who chases shadows will abandon substance. He cannot be trusted, for his loyalty is not to his cause, but to his craving. He will trade secrets for pleasure, betray allies for indulgence, forsake his mission for the promise of desire. Such men are not feared in politics, they are cultivated, used, and discarded. For what use is a soldier who deserts his post, a leader who cannot govern his own urges, a thinker whose mind is chained to his appetites? The tragic irony is that many men believe lust empowers them, that it is proof of their vitality, their freedom, their manhood. But those who study power know the truth. Lust enslaves more surely than iron chains. The man who cannot resist becomes predictable, and the predictable man is the most vulnerable of all. His actions can be calculated, his reactions anticipated. his downfall engineered with precision. Where he believes himself free, he is most controlled. It is for this reason that true rulers separate themselves from the common herd. They see what others cannot, that every indulgence carries a price. They watch as others stumble, intoxicated by fleeting pleasures, while they remain steady, untouched, and untouchable. By refusing to be controlled by desire, they control those who are. By resisting what others cannot, they rise where others fall. Lust, then, is more than a private battle. It is a battlefield upon which the powerful and the powerless are separated. Those who yield to it are ruled. Those who master it rule. And in this truth lies the sharpest edge of all. If you cannot destroy your addiction, someone else will use it to destroy you. The path to dominion is not paved with indulgence, but with restraint. It is not won in a single battle, nor claimed by birthright, but carved through daily victories over the self. To destroy lust is to begin this path, for every man who would rule must first master the realm within. Dominion begins not with the command of others, but with command of your own instincts, your own desires, your own impulses. Until this is achieved, no crown, no throne, no army will ever make you a ruler. Understand this: discipline is not a punishment, it is a weapon. The man who embraces discipline does not live less. He lives more. He is not stripped of pleasure, but of weakness. He sacrifices the cheap thrill in order to claim the greater prize. The common man resists discipline because he sees only what is lost. The man of dominion embraces discipline because he sees what is gained. He knows that lust, when left unchecked, devours time, drains strength, and poisons the will. But when mastered, when crushed underfoot, that same energy becomes fuel for greatness. Every act of restraint is a stone laid upon the path to dominion. Each time you resist temptation, you fortify your will. Each time you say no, you prove to yourself that you, not your cravings, hold the reins. This is not weakness, this is strength in its purest form. A man who can silence his own desire cannot be silenced by anyone. A man who can conquer his own lust cannot be conquered by his enemies. It is tempting to believe that power lies only in armies, in wealth, in alliances. But look closer. Armies betray weak generals, wealth destroys undisciplined men. Alliances dissolve when rulers cannot command respect. The foundation of power is not external, it is internal. Dominion is built upon the ability to deny oneself what others cannot. The masses fall into slavery because they cannot resist. They are predictable, manipulable, easily led by those who feed their appetites. The man who refuses to be led by desire stands apart, and it is he who becomes the leader. The path to dominion demands sacrifice. Comfort must be sacrificed for strength, indulgence for clarity, weakness for mastery. This sacrifice is not the loss of freedom, but the claiming of it. True dominion cannot be reached by those who seek the easy road, for the easy road is the path of the herd. Dominion is the high path, the steep climb, the ascent that demands sweat and blood. Few will walk it, but those who do will tower above the rest. There will be resistance. Lust will not die quietly. It will whisper to you in moments of loneliness. It will claw at your resolve in moments of boredom. It will promise you peace in exchange for surrender. But each refusal sharpens your will. Each rejection of temptation strengthens your authority over yourself. With time, lust no longer commands you. It serves you. You transform it from a tyrant into a tool, from a master into a servant. And then comes the true reward. The man who has conquered lust walks with a different presence. His gaze does not flicker, his voice does not falter, his steps do not stumble. He becomes unshakable, for his strength is not borrowed, not purchased, not given. It is forged. Others feel this and instinctively bow to it, not because he demands it, but because it radiates from him. Dominion is not shouted, it is recognized. It is not claimed by words, but by the quiet power of one who governs himself without compromise. The path to dominion is not for those who wish to be entertained. It is for those who wish to be remembered. The indulgent man leaves behind nothing but ashes, forgotten by history, drowned in his own weakness. But the man of mastery, the man who destroys lust, builds an empire that begins within and extends outward. His dominion does not crumble with temptation, for temptation no longer rules him. He becomes the architect of his fate, the ruler of his world, the master of his destiny. You have now seen the truth laid bare. Lust is not a harmless indulgence. It is the silent tyrant that weakens men, corrupts rulers, and enslaves nations. It strips you of clarity, drains your energy, and leaves you vulnerable to manipulation. But the man who masters himself, who chains his desires instead of being chained by them, becomes untouchable. He rises above the herd, immune to the traps that ensnare the weak, and stands as a ruler in a world of servants. The path is not easy. It demands sacrifice, vigilance, and discipline sharper than steel. Yet it is the only path to dominion, the only way to claim true freedom, the only means to become the architect of your fate. Remember this: the man who conquers lust conquers himself, and the man who conquers himself holds the power to conquer anything.